that's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I give you these?
If you could just give that to Mrs. Rayer, our town clerk. Thank you. Paul Murphy?
Good afternoon. My name is Paul Murphy. I live at 68 Cove Road in Huntington. I've been a resident of the town of Huntington since 1977. And through the progressive measures taken by this board and previous members of this board, I think we continue to have a pretty high quality of life in Huntington. I think a recent example of this is the move by the town to promote the whole solar project for town residents. I think that's in the right direction for this town. I'm here to speak about an issue in representation of Huntington CALM to potentially for a short period over the length of the year, probably 3 months of the summer, to limit or eliminate gas-powered leaf blowers. I take care of my own personal property. I don't have a landscaper. I use a gas-powered leaf blower, but I think most residents would be willing to put them aside and use something else for 3 months of the year. There are only advantages to this request. Less noise, less pollution, less gasoline use. There are electric power blowers today that you wouldn't believe how powerful they are, and in many cases are lighter in weight than the gas-powered. So the technology is there. The landscapers that do the majority of our landscaping in Huntington, I think they'll adapt. They want the revenue from landscaping. They'll buy electric power blowers for 3 months of the year. In the fall, when we have tons of leaves, okay, we need to crank up the gas. But other than that, I think it's a smart move for the future of Huntington. The only challenge I really see from your perspective is implementing it. I know that would be tough. I know it would be hard. But I think half the landscape companies out there and at least half the residents, if you put this on the books, would say, okay, I get it. That's the law. Let's comply with the law. And the people that don't, then, we have to take issues with them if that happens. Thank you. Please consider it.
Thank you. Sir, I'm just going to make this comment because I know there's other speakers on this issue, and this was brought to us prior, probably 2 years ago.
Yes.
One of the issues at the time that we talked about was the fact that it must be, one, either phased in, or two, there has to be an educational promotional program that will bring people to an understanding. And number three, there has to be an explanation of the various forms of technology now that could be used. You mentioned they're very powerful. We left it open-ended at that point. To date, I have not received any of that information, nor have I received any request to go forward with an educational program. And until then, it's a project that's very difficult to examine, and it's a very difficult project to implement without doing a full-fledged program. We did this many years ago when we banned picking up grass clippings. And there was an educational program behind it before we did it. We taught people how to mow twice a week, and perhaps they'd save time. We taught people how to get a special blade on their mowers so that they can mulch at the same time, and it was highly successful. And I believe that this is the direction that we have to go in at this time. And going back a few years ago, we had said we'd be willing to sit and listen and examine a program like that and work with it. And I think from my point of view, that office still sits there. And until we have something like that, it's very difficult to legislate.
So can I reiterate, Supervisor?
Sure.
You're looking for some information from us on the technical capabilities of alternative tools.
And being involved in an educational program.
An educational program and some sort of an idea for phasing it in.
Right.
If you received that, you would give it more serious consideration.
Oh, sure.
We were looking, I'm the one who put the resolution on. Right. I'm absolutely in favor of a ban for the summer months for them, no doubt. And I have to be able to, convince everybody else of that. So, why we wanted to put together some kind of program on the town's TV channel. Because when we did, I put on the website a survey, and it was literally 50-50. Half the people are like, why would you possibly consider doing this? Don't you have anything better to do with your time? And the other half for, oh, this is the most important thing. There's no in between. So by, a program that educates people, we can, see where they, fall out in the end, and then see whether we have consensus to put that on for a resolution.
And I believe, too, part of the educational program is to educate the landscapers and give them some direction as well. So no one is opposed.
Okay.
But if it's a program that's launched,
I wouldn't say that.
Well, some people are opposed, but
Yeah, some people
not
are
everybody
clearly
is
opposed.
well, Mark is, he does his own
He's
lawn.
clearly opposed,
And he
yeah.
cleans his own house.
I think what you're asking for is completely reasonable, and I know I can provide some of it, and some of the other members of Huntington CALM can also.
I know there's empirical data out there that it doesn't increase the cost for the landscapers either, which is,
Right. I think it's only a positive for the town, because
Well, I'm going to ask you and some of your friends if you would not just continue to work with Councilwoman Berlin, because she's been involved in this and probably knows more than many of us do, and continue to work, and she would advise us in terms of what types of programs are coming together.
Fair enough.
And most certainly, we're open-minded to look at
Okay.
this.
Thank you.
Elizabeth, is it Yami? Is that the correct pronunciation?
Yari.
Yari. Okay, I
Yeah.
didn't see that. Okay.
So Elizabeth Yari. It's actually a perfect segue, actually. I'm very interested in the educational and promotional program, as I'm an artist and workshop facilitator, and I facilitate events where people experience a connection to plants and trees through their senses. And we do this, and as it manifests as art, either in the form of artwork, which is silk painting, photography, cooking, poetry, and storytelling. But I cannot do this in Huntington lately because it's too noisy and too smelly from the gas blowers. And I'm also looking for healthy trees. I'm looking for the trees that I can do these nature connection workshops on. And just a little bit about the education about the trees in our gardens. They take root and thrive only because of the system of decomposition surrounding them. The unsung heroes in the process of a tree's life are the detritivores, which literally mean feeders on dead or decaying organic matter. There are a huge range of organisms who take part or party in the decomposition process, most of them inconspicuous, unglamorous, and to many, sadly, undesirable. But these are the tree's friends and who are also trying to thrive in Huntington. The workers are called beetles and their larvae. There are flies and maggots, woodlice, fungi, slime molds, bacteria, slugs and snails and millipedes and earthworms. And most of them work out of sight, with their handiwork not immediately apparent for years, but accumulatively they convert all dead plant and animal matter into tree food, and it's organic and free. And of course, the stars of the show are the fungi. Leaves and dead parts of the plants that fall to the ground are immediately invaded by fungi. Their white thread-like filaments connect all the trees underground and provide excellent tree-to-tree communication system. This is the kind of cell network that we all would want. But these entire ecosystems are severely damaged each day a leaf blower is used. For a tree, it's the equivalent of Hurricane Sandy each time. Most of the tree's possessions are blown away. Its delicate, symbiotic, microscopic neighbors have been killed and their property damaged beyond repair. Cell communication amongst the fungi system is interrupted and fails. And our trees, having no bacteria or fungus,
Thank you, ma'am. Time is up.
die.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don Payne?
Hi. My name's Don Payne. I'm from West Centerport. I have asthma for a long time. Huntington Hospital actually saved my life about 25 years ago when I had a bad attack, and I'm grateful for that. But lots of other people in Huntington have asthma, and gas leaf blowers make it worse. As other people have said, they stir up particulates, and those things do not respect boundaries. They stay in the air for hours. I think 4 to 8 hours, I think is a good estimate. The two-cycle engine also spews out unburned gasoline, which is also very harmful to health. My other main concern is global climate change. The GLBs emit lots of greenhouse gases, much more than, say, a modern car. And we don't want another Hurricane Sandy happening here. Now, I understand that landscapers may be concerned about the cost, but I don't think it's that much higher a cost, frankly. And compared to the costs of asthma and the costs of global climate change, I think it's relatively small. Another thing to think about is that when you pay someone to rake or sweep, most of that money stays on Long Island. If you buy gasoline, most of that money leaves Long Island. So there's some externalities that I want you to consider. Thank you.
Thank you. Gladys Paulson?
Good afternoon, and thank you for hearing the voices of the people of Huntington. My name is Gladys Paulson, and I live at 6 Darnley Place in Huntington Station. I'm retired and have the blessing of having 3 small grandchildren living nearby. And I'm here today to ask you to restrict the use of gas-powered leaf blowers so that they're not used at all during the summer months, and that they are regulated during the hours of use and decibel level during other times of the year. According to the American Lung Association's 2014 Air Quality Report, Suffolk County has the worst air pollution in all of New York State. While it is the responsibility of the federal and state governments to take action to reduce pollution from fossil fuel power plants, car and truck emissions, and the hordes of diesel school buses that roam our streets, you, our local board, can do something about the pollution that comes from gas-powered leaf blowers. Two-stroke engine leaf blowers are dirty. They've been shown to emit contaminants comparable to large automobiles, mainly because they lack pollution devices. Emissions include nitrous oxide, which contributes to the formation of ground-level ozone, especially on sunny days. And in the classic sense of the word, ozone is not a carcinogen. However, it is a powerful poison, causing inflammation of the airways and interfering with the body's ability to sweep foreign particles out. Some of those may be carcinogenic. The 2011 National Air Toxic Assessment, which was released December 17th, estimates that on average approximately 1 out of every 25,000 Americans could contract cancer just by breathing. That means 1 out of, for every million people, 40 of us will die simply by breathing the air that we have. And as was mentioned before, we must remember the increasing number of asthma sufferers. My 6.5-year-old granddaughter will say, "Mom, my chest is tight," and she lives in Huntington. By banning the use of gas-powered leaf blowers during the summer months, we will experience less ground-level ozone and less stress from noise pollution during the time that these small children are off from school and people are enjoying the outdoors. Our children will be healthier because they'll not be bombarded with the air that's been blowing at 200 miles an hour and picked up all the stuff that Elizabeth said, all the fungi and the pollen and the mold and maybe the pesticides. The employees of the landscapers will have an opportunity to use electric leaf blowers and maybe rakes, and so their ears and their lungs and their skin might be healthier. There's no need for these gas-powered leaf blowers during the summer months. And as we in Huntington become more cosmopolitan, we have to put aside our own selfish hyper-individualism and be better neighbors. This is a good community. And to this end, I ask you to support a policy that restricts the usage of these machines.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Milton Block?
Board members, I've been a resident of Huntington for around 50 years. I love this town. I became aware of the leaf blowing problem and decided to join with the protesters who would like to control leaf blowing in the town. As a dentist, I became aware that your dentist's hearing can be affected by the noises of the dental equipment. So while the leaf blowers need to be controlled, those people handling the leaf blowers, these workers, we should mandate, just like we do for the automobile people, that we wear seat belts. They should be required to protect their hearing. So there should be devices for the workers to protect their ears. I thank you very much.
Thank you. Bonnie Sager?
Good afternoon, everyone. We asked Town Council to amend Town Code to restrict gas leaf blowers during summer months. There are no leaves in the summer, and all gas blowers do is create unhealthy conditions and unreasonable levels of noise. A tenet of law is that we have the right to the peaceful use and enjoyment of our homes. The legions of landscape companies that increase with every year have taken this right from us. We are not asking for a ban, but merely a restriction. Landscapers have options. They can use hand tools, and we would not be opposed to them using commercial-grade lithium battery blowers. These blowers, although are not a perfect solution, are a far better choice. They eliminate the production of ozone and VOCs since they produce zero emissions. They are also much quieter. A battery can last 4 to 7 years and can be recycled, making them environmentally friendly and a more sustainable choice. We, on the other hand, have no options. We cannot pick up our homes and move to another area until the landscapers leave. They are present 7 days a week, 11 hours a day. Even construction is not allowed on Sunday, but landscapers keep buzzing away. Never a day of rest. We recognize that there might be some concerns that costs will increase for homeowners and landscapers, and they may suffer loss of business. This is merely a perception, not a reality. None of the 16 towns in Westchester have experienced any price increases or loss of business. We have a letter from Terry Joshi, acting chair of Yonkers Planning Department, testifying that there has been no increase and landscapers actually save money. Yonkers, whose demographic is very similar to Huntington, has restricted gas leaf blowers for several years with no ill effects. Landscapers are thriving and properties are neat and tidy. When code applies to all, it is a level playing field. Landscapers actually save money not only on gas costs, but there is no need for tune-ups, which use spark plugs, hoses, detergents, and degreasers, all items that end up in our landfill, which has an environmental cost. There is no downtime to tune up, no lugging and filling gas cans, and all this saved time can be used to service other customers, increasing landscaper productivity. Huntington CALM has many endorsements from prestigious medical and environmental groups that support our position. We also have a petition with over 700 signatures. The Suffolk County Water Authority recently posted on their website about the ills of gas leaf blowers. 2 to 4 ounces of gas is spilled every time a blower is filled, according to the Cornell Cooperative Extension and AGSA. This gasoline seeps into our groundwater. The blowers also blow nitrogen-rich, fertilizer-laden grass clippings into the street where they end up in our storm drainage and into our waterways, increasing the algae bloom. When a local authority cites gas leaf blowers as a hazard, I think we should all take notice. Landscapers that work in our community have a responsibility to the citizens that live here. We need to peacefully coexist. For those that work from home, their time is just as valuable and their livelihoods are threatened when they can't conduct business due to unreasonable noise and interruptions. Night shift workers...
Thank you.
That was good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I give this to Joanne?
Sure, please. Jordan Christensen?
Hello, my name is Jordan Christensen. I represent Citizens Campaign for the Environment. And like so many other people here today, we're also here to support a restriction on the gas leaf blowers. As you've already heard, the gas leaf blowers emit carbon and other greenhouse gases, as well as benzene and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, PAHs, both of which are known carcinogens. They also blow particulate matter into the air, increasing our exposure to heavy metals, pesticides, and other contaminants. Because of this, over 500 communities throughout the nation have already put restrictions on leaf blowers, including a lot of Westchester County, and we're urging you to do the same. In May of last year, CC submitted a letter to all of you in support of the resolution, and I'd like to submit a follow-up letter today, specifically to Councilman Cuthbertson asking for a meeting, but anyone who would like to help. In addition to supporting the legislation, I think to get at the education piece, the other thing that we would like to get your support for is starting a pilot project for what's called a green zone, a gas leaf blower free area, where you either use the electric or manual tools. And since Heckscher Park is sort of the crown jewel of Huntington, we're thinking that that might be a great place to start in order to set an example for both residences and businesses how simple it is to switch from the GLBs. Thank you.
That's me. I can't pronounce it. That's okay. My mother could.
You know what it is? I'm reading it, and I'm reading it differently.
I'm supposed to use mine.
You'll start it as soon as you get it.
Hello, my name is Peter Calcandy, and I live in Halesite. I attended an event honoring Supervisor Petrone a few years ago, and during his remarks, he talked about the wonderful quality of life Huntington residents enjoy. I never forgot that. Unfortunately, the daily noise from gas-powered leaf blowers that occur 9 months out of the year, 7 days a week, and up to 12 hours a day has eroded this wonderful lifestyle. Landscapers descend like swarms of locusts in our neighborhoods daily with multiple leaf blowers buzzing away at full power with absolutely no regard for families who reside around them. It has gotten so bad that on occasion my wife and I are unable to hear each other talk inside our home. The town council, in their wisdom, created the noise ordinance, part of which is in front of you now. To paraphrase, in no event shall any noise-creating blower or power fan or any internal combustion engine exceed 70 decibels. Public Safety has informed me that they don't own a decibel meter, and they have no plans on purchasing one. Without a decibel meter, that part of the law is unenforceable. The ordinance also dictates leaf blowers not be allowed to run more than 2 hours. Again, the town has made this virtually impossible to enforce because the inspector has to be there when the landscaper begins, and he has to return 2 hours later. Since my crystal ball is in the shop for repairs, there is nowhere anyone would know how long the activity will last when it first begins. Leaf blowers may not begin before 8 a.m., yet on several occasions, landscapers would start before 7:30, waking us up. This should be an easy one. An inspector witnesses the violation, cites the offender, right? No. I call public service, which is now on my speed dial, only to be told either, well, we'll try and get there, or we can't possibly get there by 8 o'clock. Another time I was told it required 2 complaints before the action would be taken. Twice I was instructed to get the name and address of the landscaper and send it to Town Hall so they could send a letter. Most landscapers have unmarked trucks. I even spoke to a public safety officer recently who told me the law was rescinded and as long as the noise didn't occur every day, there was no violation. I suggested he review the statute, and he was curtly told me he knew his job. Whatever you call it, there's always a different reason they don't investigate the complaint. Evidently, I just personally feel that the word is out in Town Hall not to enforce this noise ordinance. In closing, I had the privilege of witnessing the swearing-in ceremony of the newly elected council people, and with their hand to God, swore to uphold and enforce the laws and ordinances of the town of Huntington. I hope you please take those words to heart. Spring is around the corner, so you need to act quickly. I better act quickly to direct the Department of Safety and just.
Thanks, Pete. We know the message.
You got me, Pete. You got me.
Candy. Candy Cal Candy, I like that.
How are you? How are you? Okay, my name is Candy Cal Candy, and I also live in Hale Site. And a few years ago, we spent a few $1,000s to landscape our property, rebuild our patio, purchase new lawn furniture, preparing for our upcoming retirement. We envisioned spending our last years enjoying each other's company in our little oasis behind our house. We planned on having meals outdoors, read, work in the garden, and just hang out after a lifetime of going to work. Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. Many times there's always the loud din of leaf blowers operating somewhere in the immediate neighborhood, which is so annoying we will have to go inside because we just can't even sit out there anymore. Even inside gas leaf blowers can be so loud we can't talk on the phone or speak to each other without raising our voices to be heard. Thursdays are special in that the landscapers come and service all the homes adjacent to ours. A few of our neighbors have loose stone driveways, and when the landscapers try and blow away the last blade of cut grass, they create a plume of dust and sand that have harmful irritants. I am forced to leave my home just to cope on Thursdays. I call them the noise people, and they are making my retirement in my yard impossible. Okay, in preparing for this statement, my husband counted 171 homes within a quarter-mile radius of our location. If 145 of these homes use landscapers, that amounts to an average of over 20 landscaper calls per day or 2 per hour every week during the season. That amounts to virtually nonstop noise and pollution. My husband and I have traveled quite a bit through Europe, through Canada. We have never incurred this much noise in any of these other countries that we do in Huntington. Huntington is becoming impossible to live here. And their yards and their gardens are clean and beautiful, okay? And I want to hear the birds sing. I don't want to hear leaf blowers, okay? Please enforce this noise ordinance and take these, leaf blowers out during the summer months. Thank you.
Thank you. Gail Payne?
Hi, everybody. I'm an independent graphic designer for print and web, and I have a home office in West Centerport. When my husband and I moved there 5 years ago from Huntington Village, we were amazed by how quiet it was. However, each year since then, it has gotten noisier and noisier due to the increased use of gas leaf blowers. These machines have harmed my business. I've had to reschedule phone calls and interrupt in-person meetings with my clients. My work involves attention to detail. It is very difficult to concentrate on my work with my neighbor's landscaping service blasting away just a few feet from my office. The second way in which they have affected me may show up as cancer down the road. For now, it shows up as a cough that lasts for days. I run for exercise outdoors with my dogs at least 4 times a week. I have rounded a corner or come up a hill only to be faced with inhaling these particulates, these fine particulates stirred up by leaf blowers, as well as the pollution that they emit. We've been tax-paying Huntington residents for over 25 years. Why should a perceived advantage to landscapers trump our health and our quality of life? I also want to add, I'm a member of Long Island Sierra Club Executive Committee, and we fully support summertime restrictions on gas leaf blowers. So that's it.
Thank you. Ronan Yari?
Hi, good afternoon. I'll be brief because I think most of the points have been made. Like Gail, I also work from home. I have a online marketing business at home, and it's virtually impossible to go through an entire day without being interrupted by noise. So I'd like to apply and be the first home in Huntington to become a green zone. If that's possible, I would love that. I think it's a great idea. The other idea is to educate the landscapers, because they may not, I think ultimately capitalism will drive this. So if we support landscapers who use green machines, ultimately they will adapt. And I think market forces could rule the day. So first, I agree with Frank that The public needs to be educated, absolutely. The landscapers need to be educated, and then put in incentives in place to incentivize these folks to buy green machines that are quiet and more efficient. And I think that would be a first great step. Thank you.
Thank you. Heidi Huttner.
Hello, I'm Heidi Huttner, and I'm a professor at Stony Brook University. I'm the Director of Sustainability Studies there and an Associate Dean in the Marine Science School. I'm also a Huntington resident, and I've lived here for about 22 years. I live near the water, and I am concerned about sound, but in particular I'm concerned about health, and sound is a health issue. I'm a cancer survivor, and I moved to Long Island while getting chemotherapy treatment, toward the end of it. And on my block, I've counted about 5 of us with cancer. The neighbor across the street died from lung cancer in the few years that he moved to Huntington and then died during that period. Several women in my block have had breast cancer. To my knowledge, they're still surviving, and others that I may not know about. I do a lot of research on the health effects and impacts of environmental contaminants, and I'm really truly disturbed by the contaminants that are in these these leaf blowers. Personally, often see them blowing for no reason at all. Many people out there just blowing away. Nobody's home. I know you all live around here and you know what I'm talking about. And I have a daughter who's been raised here, and I'm concerned about the health of our children. Their lungs and bodies are most susceptible. All the studies show that children are most susceptible to these chemicals. They're breathing them in. The particulates remain in the air for hours, sometimes days. So that's my biggest concern. My secondary concern is climate change. Leaders all over the world are just finished meeting in Paris, and they came away saying, yes, we are in a global climate crisis, and it was very difficult for them to come up with major mandates to run around enforcing different countries. But one of the things they came away with is it's up to us, that each country, each member of the UN and each delegate was to go back to their country and say, we as a country have a responsibility to take care of the future generations. And so this seems like an incredibly wasteful means of blowing debris around to clean up our yards. We know there are better, more efficient ways to do that. I know you're reading about climate change and you're all aware of it. I don't need to give you the details on it. So those are my 2 big concerns. And the health one is a big one. So 39% of all humans are going to get cancer in their lifetimes. Those numbers are rising all the time. Many, many deaths and increasing deaths by cancer. And that's largely due, the research is showing, from environmental contaminants. And this is just one more way, and we know our air pollution here is terrible. So thank you very much, and I hope we can make this change that we're asking for. Thanks.
Thank you. Jennifer Grace.
Hi, thank you for your attention and for listening to all of us. I wanted to blow off my turn, no pun intended, but getting a little nervous here. I live in Centerport. I teach music from my home. And I have many neighbors who use leaf blowers. I don't use them myself, but I just want to put in my 2 cents and say that I agree with many things that were said here today and would encourage all of us to go greener with everything that we do in our yards, in our homes, in our town. And I really loved, I forgot who suggested it, but someone suggested that we start with town parks and start with Heckscher Park and make that a real green place, and not just beautiful green grass, but a green place that doesn't use gas leaf blowers. And thank you all so much for your time and attention.
Thank you. Solomon Sanchez.
Hi, everyone. My name is Salomon Sanchez. I'm a resident with the address of 44 Grove in Cold Spring Harbor. The reason I'm here is to support Ms. Deirdre Ventura's petition for a bed and breakfast. I was provided with a package from the Main Street Civic Association. I was doing my homework, right, about this topic. I think it's a great idea, and I know Ms. Ventura and her little 8-year-old daughter. I wish you you consider the idea to put it in the agenda as soon as possible, as I know that this project is her only income. That's about it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Robert Scar Casarella? Oh, say that, come on.
Scancarelli.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Robert
I'm pronouncing an R, not an N.
Yeah.
You're an N.
It's my initial, my handwriting. Robert Scancarelli. I live on Briarfield Lane. I'm also here to support Deirdre Ventura's application for a bed and breakfast. I think it'd be something good for the neighborhood. This way, when my mom comes up from Florida, she doesn't have to stay with me. Okay? Okay, and it's a beautiful house. But
You're on TV.
oh, no, okay. She's in Florida. It's a nice old home that would make a beautiful bed and breakfast right next to the water, and people come from Connecticut, if they bring their boat across, have a place to stay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Marisol Matter? Is it Maddox, right?
Hi, Marisol Maddox, yeah. Hi, good afternoon. I am here to also voice my support for restricting the gas-powered leaf blowers as much as possible. I think this is a multifaceted issue. A lot of good points have been made, so I won't be super verbose about this, but in terms of climate change, I really feel that all communities need to be doing everything that they can to reduce emissions and combat the effects of climate change. And one of those small steps that we can take would be reducing these gas-powered leaf blowers. And the emissions are completely out of control on them. And if you look at that 2014 American Lung Association air quality report that was mentioned earlier, Suffolk County did get an F, and that's a really serious issue. I grew up in Huntington, and even though I came here when I was 9 years old, and I came from California, and I didn't know anybody out there who had asthma. And coming out here, all of a sudden I had all these friends who have asthma, and maybe it's a coincidence, but considering the quality of the air, I think that's something that we really need to be taking seriously. Additionally, just in terms of like quality of life with the noise pollution, I really like spending time in my garden, looking at carbon farming and the potential for sequestering carbon from the atmosphere into living biomass. And so I like to spend time outside. I like to have my little cousins over and teach them about the plants and about just the intricate nature that surrounds us and how we're a part of it and not so separate as we have been led to believe. And that is really that experience of being outside and like sharing that love for the outside world can be seriously diminished by having crazy amounts of noise surrounding my backyard. And so if we can just address that, I think there's a lot of reasons for doing so. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Emily Eisen?
Hi, I'm Emily Eisen. I've been a resident in Northport for I've been a resident in Northport for 29 years, and I originally moved here because of the peace and quiet. And also, Joanne, you have a little bag there. It's got gasoline in it, so if you would all just take a turn on smelling it while I'm speaking, because that's what goes on every second, 24/7. Excuse me a moment. I knew you'd want to hear that again. So, all the things that my colleagues, my neighbors have said, I'm standing on my toes here, there should be a little bench here for us shorties. all the things that my colleagues and my scientists, my professors, my neighbors have said, and all the members of CALM, I don't need to repeat any of that. I'm ready to get started. I'm ready to see change this season. The phasing, okay, but education can start right now. It's starting right now for all of us here. I'm ready to be part of your team, Susan. I'm ready to be in my home when spring comes and have the peace and quiet that I moved here for, and know that we're breathing healthy air, that our water is healthy, and I see every single reason why it has started right now. And by this season, we've already made great, great progress. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes our public portion. We will go directly into our agenda. I offer resolution number 1, adopt various actions of the town board for the year 2016.
Second. On the motion?
Seconded.
On the motion.
I'm going to be voting no on this. There's a lot of things in this resolution. One of the issues is that we have 2 newspapers that both get legal notices and money